Elisabeth, welcome to the Meet Expert with Global Woman. We had the chance to hear a little bit of your story in the video, and that shows that you started your childhood with many challenges, and that doesn't help, because we know how important is childhood for us as humans. And but that didn't stop you either. So how do you remember your childhood, and how do you think your childhood has impacted to become who you are today?
Talking about my childhood used to be, there was a time when when I was still hurting, when it used to make me tearful. But I have done a lot of work on myself, and I can now talk about my childhood and actually laugh about those challenges that I had. My mother was 16 years old when she gave birth to me. She couldn't keep me. She couldn't. You imagine in 1960, a 16-year-old young woman having a child. It was something horrible in a small Catholic village in Switzerland. Nobody wanted to even hear about it, but she wanted to give me away for adoption. But I had a wonderful grandfather, and he said that this girl is coming home. So I came into a family of my mother, who all her life was my sister. She never acknowledged the fact that she was my mother. So my aunts, my two other aunts were my sisters, and my uncle was my brother. And that's how I grew up. That's how I started growing up. And of course, the beginning was fun, because it was like bringing home a doll. You know, they were already a little older, so I had a lot of people to play with. My uncle brother recently told me that I actually learned how to walk on a table, because after the meal they used to allow me to walk around on the table. So I took my first step. Maybe that's why I want to be on stage today, because I learned how to walk on a table. But of course, as I grew older, I noticed that I was different. People were pointing, people point fingers. Some people are mean. And I have noticed that people with problems, people who are very unhappy themselves, they are even more mean, the ones, because people who know that we are all human, people who know that none of us is perfect, people who know that we all have a story, they will accept your story and they will accept you for what you are. But those people who usually hurt themselves, they don't want to deal with their own hurt, they prefer to hurt somebody else. So I got bullied at school. I even got bullied by a teacher. And I think about it sometimes, if that teacher was teaching today, he would probably be locked up. But in those days, nobody cared. So I just realized that I was different. I realized that we were not a normal family. And unfortunately, when I was 10 and a half years old, my grandfather died. And he was he was the person who was keeping the family together. He was an intellectual. He was a wonderful person. So from then on, I was kind of on my own. My grandmother was a lovely lady, very loving, very sweet, but she had no power. She was just a simple woman from the countryside, from that small village. So I realized that I need to take action here. And as a very young person.
So you were very young, like 10, 11 years old, when you started facing these challenges.
Yeah.
Realize that if I don't look after myself, nobody is going to do that.
Exactly.
So you got a very early lesson.
Yes. And I started working when I was 13. I started cleaning tables in a ski lodge. And I started cleaning hotel rooms in the summer in a hotel. And I started in this hotel where I worked. There were people working from Australia. In the ski lodge, there were people working from America. And I started understanding that there were other people in this world, not just the ones in the village. And I started dreaming of leaving. I wanted to leave the place where I was born because I didn't feel welcome. I didn't feel that I was belonging there. And I started dreaming and I started learning languages. I learned English at a very early age, but I also collected money. I was saving money from those jobs that I did. because I wanted to go to England and I wanted to learn proper English. And on Friday evening, after my class, I used to go, there was a lady in the village who spoke Spanish. And I used to have a Spanish lesson with her every Friday night. And I don't remember where I took the money from to pay for that, or I don't even know if she charged me. But that's me. I just needed to, I knew that if I don't, and that's also when I realized how important money is.
So there are two things here that I noticed while you're sharing these episodes, very important episodes from your life. Number one is like when we realize that we are not happy where we are, and we think like, I should do something, I should escape, or I should move, or because you just feel like if you don't take that actions, you are going to let yourself down. But not many people have that ability to dare and also stand for herself, because life circumstances, other people that put you down all the time, and self-esteem as well, as you mentioned at the beginning. There are all these elements that just push us to not take that step. But also the other one that you just raised is another important point, which is when you are under these circumstances, you feel like in order to move, you have to earn something. And you have, in order for you to look after yourself, you have to analyze, evaluate the situation. What should I do? What could I do? Is it only looking after myself, like learning something new, or starting making plans? Or probably I have to go and work and make some money, because everything that I need to do, it's a cost that I have to pay. So how did you manage in such a early age to think in that critical point of your life and find solutions in such a way?
I don't know that. I just knew, and I just was very feisty. But it's not that I had a lot of hang-ups, and I will talk about that later, because even though I started working as a tour guide and I started having this very glamorous life, I had all those hang-ups. I took them all with me, because I was saying in the video before, no matter how far you go, you always take your problems with you. Even, people think that, if we moved to the beach, we would be happy, or if we moved to the mountains, we would be happy. If you have problems in a relationship or with yourself, moving doesn't do the job. The problem is inside of you. I don't know where I took the strength from. My grandfather, I never knew my father, but my grandfather was an entrepreneur. And I also understood that whatever you want to do, you want to learn English, you need money. People always say, oh, money doesn't buy happiness, money doesn't buy this. Money buys a lot of things. No, it doesn't buy happiness. It doesn't, but it buys you an English course that will help you find a job to make you happy. So happiness is a very, very widely explained expression.
That's so true, because we come from that generation that money was ugly and dirty and doesn't buy you happiness and things like that. And very soon later, when I started feeling the significance of lack of money, then I realized that yes, money doesn't make you happy, but lack of money makes you feel miserable.
Yeah.
And feeling miserable and feeling happy, they are two opposite things, but somewhere it should be a middle ground where you still have to increase your ability to make your own money and not be dependent on other people. And then later on, I realized that money also makes you be so dependent not only on your parents, but on your husband or your partner or somebody else that you don't want to be. And especially for us women, that is very, very important. And also, you raised another very, very valid point. Like, we think that if we move somewhere, things are going to change. And you remind me of a poem that I wrote when I moved to London. I thought I put everything in the luggage. I put my accessoires, I put my coat and my scarf and my jewelries and my bags and everything. And the only thing that I didn't want to put in my bag was my memories. And I thought, I'm not going to take these memories with me. I'm going to leave these memories here. But the thing is, when I arrived to the airport, the first thing that came to my mind. The luggages got lost, but the memories were there. So how do we manage to get out of these bad memories? As an expert, I think you are going to deliver a training now, and you're going to talk about it much more. But I believe that yes, that's so true what you mentioned. But by taking yourself and moving yourself away from a toxic environment where these toxic people, psycho-vampires, keep kind of pulling you all the time to the direction that you don't want to, and telling you that you are the person that you don't want to be, it just, I think that is very, very important, that at least we do something that is the first step. And I agree with you that it's not everything, it's not enough by just moving, but sometimes moving, it gives you the opportunity to start changing your thoughts. And this is what I'm really curious and interested to know. How can we change our thoughts if these thoughts are not the best that we can have for ourselves? And I always, after this question, I always have the second big question. How can we get rid of out of these thoughts as soon as possible?